All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into voiceovervoices.biz. I'm your host, Earl Hall here, and I've got a great special guest. David is joining me today. We're going to be talking to you voiceover artists that are looking to start, build, and grow a successful voiceover business. David, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Thank you, Earl, for having me. It's a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Well, look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. David, what kind of really got and sparked you into getting into voiceover in the first place? And how long ago was that?
Well, I'll tell you, in 2015, living in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as I do right now. In 2015, I had the opportunity to start a radio show.
Mm,
The county library was starting a new low power radio station, and I had always been interested in podcasting, and so that I was like, well, let's take the podcast to the radio and see what happens. I wasn't getting paid for it or anything, but it was a fun way to flex. And then I found out I enjoyed reading the bumpers and ads a heck of a lot more than I did doing the actual radio show. And so I was like,
wow.
well, how can I do this more often? And so that morphed into voiceover work from then on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, a big part of what we want to talk about today is kind of, your gear, kind of what it is that you're using, kind of why you selected those things. So let's start off with the sexiest piece of gear that everybody loves, right? It's the microphone. Which microphone are you using?
I'm a bit of a gear hound, as I'm sure you are yourself. We all tend to be that way. So there's actually
Yeah.
multiple microphones that I use based on the situation or job that I'm recording for. My main
Okay.
microphone is a Lewitt Audio LCT 440 Pure.
Mhm.
That's the name of that mic. It's a large diaphragm condenser microphone that's in my booth currently, all wired up and ready to go for those real high end projects that I need to get every
Okay.
ounce of schmaltz out of my voice.
Well, let's kind of stick to that because that's like your go-to mic,
Sure.
right? That's
Yep.
like the one you're always on. What
Absolutely.
made
That's the
you
big piece.
what That's the big piece. What made you select that Lewitt?
I watched many videos coming up where I was like, well, do I get the Shure SM7B? A very, very popular microphone, right? Exactly. Do I go with the
Yeah.
Sennheiser, the MK, the MK416, or another shotgun microphone's $1,000? And the
Mhm.
Lewitt surprised me in that it was everything all of those other microphones were purporting to be
Mhm.
at less than $300. So, and it's a European made microphone. They
Mhm.
barely speak any English when you call them on the phone, but
Wow.
their customer services have been fantastic. They have a large line of microphones from the 240 to the 440 to some tube microphones now, and all
Mhm.
of them it just so competitively priced. And with the way when I took the leap and bought that microphone, the 440 Pure, as a little gift to myself after I sold my house, and I have never been more impressed by a microphone in my entire life. So this thing captures the highs and the lows and everything in between of my voice exactly as I want it to. And
For
I
less than
took a
three hundred
risk
dollars.
for less
For
than
less
three
than three
hundred
hundred
dollars.
bucks.
I think I
See,
got it
this
from
is
Guitar Center for like $269 or something like that.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Comes with pop
Amazing.
filters and a mount and all of these things.
And
So
you've used other mics, I'm sure.
I have even the
Probably,
one I'm using right now. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, and to get the quality of sound that you want and to get that for under $300 is simply amazing with that,
The clarity was
the
astounding.
clarity of it.
Hmm.
Wow. I mean, unfortunately, we're recording this on Zoom, so we're not getting like pristine
No,
sound
I
since we're
know. I
recording
know.
on Zoom.
I wish I was on that microphone
Yeah.
too, but my air conditioning in my apartment doesn't work and it's 90 degrees in my studio right now. So there's no way I'm going into that
Yeah.
booth.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
no
my
way.
gosh.
There's no
It-
way.
What is okay? So from your microphone, from the Lloyd, what is this going into? What kind of processing gear or audio interfacing are you using to get it into your DAW?
I have that microphone going via XLR directly
Mhm.
into my Mackie mixing board, which is a uh, Pro FX8 V2. So that's the
Wow.
particular model for a Mackie mixing board here. It's not brand new. I bought it
Mhm.
brand new, probably back in 2015, but they have a V3 out now.
It's
Um,
interesting because with the Mackie, even the last interview I did, he was, he's using a Mackie as well, kind of a big mixer board.
yeah,
And do you think that comes from being in radio for as long as you were, that you chose a Mackie as opposed to more of a traditional voiceover type of interface?
I think
Or
I'm
should I say,
I think
why
I'm
did you
more
choose that?
familiar. Well, see, my love since I was a child has always been audio engineering.
Mm.
I was born half deaf, so audio is
Okay.
audio has
Okay.
always been a fixation of mine. And
Got
so
it.
the knobs and the switches and the dials and the EQ sliders and all the wonderful little bits and bobs of a mixing console have
Yeah.
always just intrigued me. That I don't have to just have the sound that I hear. I can literally fine tune it any way that I
Hmm.
wish. A
Mm.
mixing board allows me to do that more so than say a traditional interface like a Scarlett 2i2 or
Yeah.
something like that, or an M Audio or what have you.
Hmm.
So I think the comfortability of going from radio to voiceover and having sort of being able to use the same interfaces um, really was helpful for all of
Yeah,
these
I
different.
know. I had a huge Behringer mixer at one point too.
Yeah.
Loved that mixer, with that. So along with the Mackie, is there
So this is
anything else before it gets to your DAW?
there's nothing else in between that. So
Okay.
it's microphone, mixer, and it's directly into my computer. The beautiful part about this Mac keyboard is that it's USB, so it plugs
Mhm.
directly into the computer, which makes it super simple. With the Behringer ones, I always had to have a balanced out
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
sound card, which then plugged into
The RCA plugs and
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
I went
So
through that.
I thankfully I avoid this, and that was one of the chief concerns I had was to make sure that I simplified my setup as much as possible because I'm moving at the end of June to a whole nother state. So being able to
Okay.
take this setup with me and pick it up from here, move it over there, and set it up directly is a feature that I can't do without. So that mobility is
Awesome.
really important to me. Even though it's a mixing board, it's only an 8-channel mixing board with 4 mic inputs in case I
Okay.
want to do a podcast. If I want to do a
Right.
podcast,
Right.
I can jack in more mics and have people all mic'd up and have it exactly the way I want to. So
Sure.
yeah. But
Absolutely.
other than that, it goes directly into my computer.
All right. And what DAW are we using here? What's
You
the
know,
digital audio workstation?
it's gotta be Adobe Audition. You know how this is.
Yes.
It's
Finally,
gotta be
someone
Adobe
else
Audition.
using it.
There, I've tried Reaper. I've tried Audacity. Audacity was great when I first started out,
Right.
but
Right.
but it's the destructive editing of Audacity that I don't enjoy.
Mm,
Reaper, these DAWs that you actually have to pay for, give you so many more options. And yeah, it's a hard upfront cost for somebody who's just starting. It really is,
sure.
because then it becomes monthly, and then you've got another subscription you've got to worry about, and a website subscription. But this is part of running a business.
Well,
So
yeah.
this is the downside to it, but also it grants you so much more access to your audio and to different things you can do. And I really can't recommend Adobe Audition more. I mean, between you and Anthony Pica, who's another
My
voiceover,
guy. I just
yeah,
talked to Anthony yesterday. That's crazy. He
he's the
called me up
best. He's the best.
yesterday. He
I've
is
been following him
absolutely.
for years, and he everybody using Audition. I couldn't go any other direction. I really couldn't,
Mhm.
and it has been probably the greatest tool outside of the microphone, the greatest
Yeah.
tool that I use in order to deliver quality products to my customers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, and I got to look up that microphone too. I didn't even
Oh,
know anything about it
Lewitt,
until you just mentioned it.
Lewitt.
All right. I definitely got to look that up and get that in my Amazon store for
It's
sure.
wonderful.
Well, look, I mean, David, tell me, I mean, this is, the final question I always ask people is, if there was anything you could ask me about voiceover, what would that be?
My main question, as
Mhm.
I'm this move that's coming up in June, um, is my chance to take what has been a part-time gig for me, voiceover, to turn it into a full-time gig. I'm moving in with my significant other. She
Mhm.
has all the bills covered and is ready to support my dream of
Mhm.
making this business a full-time, a full-time gig of mine.
Yeah.
So my question and it's part of the thing that scares me about really scaling this up is
Mm-hmm.
I how do I go about potentially breaking into other markets? Can I do it myself, or should I spend the time finding representation and an agent and these types of things? And if I want to do the movies, or I want to try to audition for these larger gigs, is representation really that important? And if so, what are maybe some tips in how I might go about finding that representation for me? So that would be the thing that's on the forefront of my mind right now at this point.
I'm going to take this in a little bit of a different direction
Sure,
because everybody, covers the thing like, in a world, trying to get the
sure,
movie gigs and all of that stuff. But there is so much work under that. If you look at like a pyramid or a triangle, that voiceover work is at the top of that pyramid, kind of like an
very true.
iceberg. You only see the top of the iceberg. Most of the iceberg is under the water, right? And
Very true.
that's where most of the voiceover work is, but people seem to ignore that because they think it's not as lucrative. When you talk to someone like an Anthony Pica,
Yeah,
he's not doing that what we would call the coveted top of the line work.
that's
He
true.
knows his market, and he knows the VO that he gets work in. And it's kind of like this: when you decide what it is that you want to do and what you want to go after, first of all, the market is going to tell you what they want from you based on what they're buying from you.
Mm.
And it's a really good way to discover that. Like right now, how are you going about getting work?
Well, right now, I use platforms like People Per Hour, has been very
Mhm.
lucrative for me. And in fact, even through my website itself, which I took a good amount of time designing, I've had
Mhm.
companies reach out to me and desire work. So I have three or four clients
Mhm.
that I acquired through my website, which are high paying clients. So
Awesome.
that's been really nice.
All right. So now you've got these clients you're getting from people per hour. You've got the clients you're getting from your website. It's really comes down to doubling down on those two things. If wherever you're getting the work from, when you start trying to figure out how to get work somewhere else, you're not focusing in on where you're getting work from. And
Yeah.
so double down on those points. It's not about hurrying up and getting more clients next week. It's about this is a long game. I mean, it may take
True.
1 or 2 years to ramp up, just like it took, I mean, both me and Anthony. It took us 1, 2, 3 years,
Yeah.
you know, to really get to the point where one, we could quit our full-time jobs and do this. Another student of mine just quit her full-time job at the beginning of January.
Hmm.
But it's like you can't put a date on it, right? But what you can do is make sure you're doing everything you can do in order to make that date happen and date come. Like people will ask me, when should I quit my full-time job? Well, when you're making enough money to. I mean,
Yeah.
what other answer is there?
Exactly.
So now it's like reverse engineering that. So you have a particular set of clients that are coming to you right now. Those types of clients, those exact type of clients is who you need to be reaching out to, whether it be
Okay.
email, whether it be following them on social media, whether it being putting comments on their social media, not saying come, hire me as
Sure.
VO,
Yeah. Interacting.
but interacting with what they have going on already so that now it's just like we all do. If someone makes a comment on our post, 9 times out of 10, we click on their link to go see who they are.
Of course.
Same
Yeah.
thing in
Yeah.
this. We live in this economy now with,
Okay.
gig economy and everything else, and social media is our gateway in. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, because I definitely don't want to forget the clients that I already have, but perhaps
Mhm.
just the idea of going full time, which is what I will be doing. Uh,
Mhm.
Perhaps the excitement of that caused me would accidentally, if I'm not careful, cause me to forget those clients in the pursuit of something that I feel might be greater, even
Right.
though it may not necessarily be. So
Bird in
thank
the
you
hand
for
beats
that
two in a bush.
grounding. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
not a problem at all. Like I said, a bird in the hand beats two in a bush, right?
Of
It's
course, of course. Why eschew the money I already have coming in when when
exactly.
whatever I'm dreaming towards is not guaranteed. So it's fair to dream about it, but
Yeah,
also don't neglect what you have already, for sure. You don't
absolutely.
know what you've got
Absolutely.
till it's gone, as they say.
Yeah. Well, David, I want to thank you so much for taking this time out to, book this interview. What you said, there's so many nuggets and tidbits, and I knew these things would come out as I was, interviewing new and upcoming voiceover artists, because there's things that we all look at that no one else talks about,
Oh,
but we talk
absolutely.
about it, we struggle with. And so I wanted to make sure that I got this type of information out. So thanks again, buddy, for being here with me. And you have a good rest of your day, man. Thanks so
Thank
much
you,
again.
Earl. I appreciate it very much. If I could leave one piece for your listeners,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
simplify your chain. If you can, simplify your chain. Microphone, interface, computer. There's no reason you need to go further than that. Treat your space, but simplify your chain. That will get you the farthest, and it will help you when you come to troubleshoot anything you have in the future.
Thanks so much, David, for that. And thanks
Thank you,
again
Earl.
for being here. We'll see you next time, my friend.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks.